under, and I saw this this video he sent me. It was back then, what did they call them, video or VHS or whatever, and I was kind of ignorant in a way, kind of not developed intellectually about this, and I kind of got scared of it, and I closed it up and put it back in a drawer, and because it came with a little sticky pad on there saying, "Enjoy, Karen," and I thought, how does he know me? And I still to this day don't know. Now I know more because of I'm learning on how all this operates, from military to ET, but most of it I think is driven by our friends. I really do. So that's all I can say for right now.
That you have. Okay. Oh, let's see. You're out of time. Back to you, TJ. Are you there?
Okay, I had to get off. Yeah, I had to get off mute. Okay, well,
Okay.
93, the Philadelphia experiment. Preston Nichols and Peter Moon. Peter Moon, that's Vince's name, but I don't know if Vince goes by Peter Moon. And he had the series Montauk Project with Sky Books. And somehow or another, the government, that 93, 94, when I was in Hawaii, that's when I met Janet. And I was with Dr. Lars Sturgis, and I was sent to Maui, Hawaii, to talk to Dr. Lessin. So our story the plot thickens with Karen, because she found her way to Karen and to Janet and Dr. Lessin, as did I. But I thought my connection through Janet was through I didn't know it was through Montauk and Preston Nichols and Peter Moon, because she came to me later about Stargate to the Cosmos. And I want people to know that there's nothing similar to having an event called anything to do with Stargate or Heaven's Gate. But I saw on Dateline recently, I wanted to mention that we're not trying to create anything like a following like Heaven's Gate of those people that did what they did with 39 people, but that lately that's puts the fear in you, because you're trying to do this. But this is supposed to be like how we use our words. And I know that Preston knew I was interested because I was an investigator, but I was in Hawaii. But he was very he was interested in me, but he was curious because we were using the vibrosound, and Dr. Lars Sturgis had gotten one and put me on it, and I was having to go to the Whole Life Expo and the Eco Expo and all the stuff that Dr. Sturgis was interested in with people synergistically involved, but she wouldn't go to it, Psi seminars, but she had a PhD, and so did Dr. Lessin. So neither one of them went to Psi seminars, but we were studying holodynamics, and we were doing therapy, and we were doing hypnosis, and I was teaching classes on holodynamics, hypnosis, and metaphysics, and all of that next to Dr. Sturgis in Maui. But I was sent over because we wanted a spiritual community, and ours was growing, so we were combining because one of our spiritual teachers was leaving, going back to the mainland, and I was going to take over for all the PhD level types that didn't want to be involved in all this at a certain psychic level or do this, because they didn't do psychic work, but they treated people or were therapy people like Dr. Lessin and Dr. Sturgis. But Nichols, we had a deal to do with going off planet in our minds, where we would go back into the inner circle and the Stargate, and that's what the government was involved in, because we were all meeting together. And Janet can talk about her table tapping, or this guy was doing impersonations and channeling, and I was channeling, but my channeled Ascension Age and channeled the book that I wanted Janet helped her for the Ascension Age, because the ETs gave me a symbol that came down with a lightning like Thor and split a tree. And I was telling people all this, but I hadn't written books to talk about all this wacky stuff, and I didn't know it was New Age stuff, so I was reading all I could, and I was working at the bookstores as a psychic, and it got all confused because there was people with the Montauk, and there was people with Stuart Anderson with time travel, and Andrew Bashago with the Pegasus community trying to say that we do this anyway with our minds, and he was trying to give it words like you travel in your mind. And I think Andy was smart attorney, but no, that got him credibility. So all these names were coming up in my life, but I didn't know how to put them together. I still don't, because it's such a wacky story about time travel and using your mind to talk with ESP and an extraterrestrial level of us, and yet we call it spirituality, but we call it out-of-body near-death experiences, and we call it channeling, and we call it being in touch with ETs. And then I had the exposure to the real physical reality underground and in uniform, and working with people, like what was it, Clifford Stone. So Clifford Stone was involved, and I have so many names that I didn't know. I've never met them, but it's like Karen said, or her husband. She didn't know that Dolores Cannon was part of this, and she was in the Air Force, and her husband, and she learned her own technique by helping people. And I believe it was the government, our NSA and CIA, because they all wanted to push us all together. I believe that some form of government keeps up with anybody dealing with metaphysics, psychics, ESP, all those people, and Stanford Institute. And we were the volunteers, or just curious people that had experiences, but they didn't want to have to pay us all, but they also didn't want us to all wake up. At that time, they were trying to keep us all apart. So I was trying to bring us all together. And I think that's how the warp of aliens and time travel and wormholes and all that got put together, because the government wanted to keep it secret. That's why we have all those disclosures and those non-compete and patents and people that work, because the government keeps their scientists and engineers and the universities all for themselves. So the governments can own all the money and the control. So it has to do with greed, power, and control on one level, and the ETs know that. But they also are trying to advance the entire human race. So I believe the Roswell story had to do with advancing all of us to the higher levels, that we exist in multi-dimensions and realms that we're not even aware of yet, because we're living in – the Matrix came out, 89 or 92, didn't it? So the Matrix became a part of this, as did – they were waking up the science world to compete with the religion world to keep us all at odds, which worked for a while. So
TJ,
I think it's finally opening up.
So we're going to go one final round.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, you're out of time. Go ahead. Your turn. We're going to go 4-minute rounds because we're running out of time. Go ahead. Your turn.
I just wanted to ask a question now about this with Preston Nichols, TJ. So I just want to know quick, how did Preston Nichols know of you?
Through the vibration, sound.
Did he seek you out, or
he was working with Al Bielek and that Cameron guy. Yeah. He was working with two other men plus Vince.
Duncan Cameron.
Duncan Cameron. Yeah. So Duncan had ESP.
How did you meet him?
Karen was on the list.
How did you meet?
Because how did he know about me?
You're on the list.
Excuse me. I was on a list?
You're on the list. Yeah, you're on a list as a point of contact, because all of us ESP people were on a list for the government.
Well, see, I thought I was, because when I gathered these two friends to go out to Garland to check out this event, I mean, I had a drive inside of me to do this, and so did these other people. And we had a force within our solar plexus region that we had to go out there and see what Allende had left. And so we were brave enough and silly enough to do it. And then we just kept getting in touch, and that's when I talked to the lady in Arizona named Beth. I wish I could have remembered her name. And she told me about David Childress, and she told me about Al Bielek. And then I realized that Paula had known these people, and that you had been together or known or had been sought out by Preston Nichols. So I think this is just amazing. Now, this is a definite confirmation on some end, and this is E.T. I do believe that.
Yeah. Well, we did a show with Preston, didn't we, TJ? Didn't we do a show with Preston? Was that me and you?
Yeah, you and I.
One or two shows.
You and I. It's on here somewhere, but we didn't have a very good show with him because he was wanting to talk to me different than the show, and he'd get mad at me because I was supposed to be working with Stuart Anderson, and I was on social paranormal domain with Stuart Anderson.
You mean
anyway?
Preston Nickell?
Yeah,
well,
we're talking about Preston Nickell.
I just want to say one thing. Also, inside this video, he sent a picture of his house where everything from floor to ceiling were computers, and he was in there.
Yeah, those were like
and he said
the
this is
government.
what he sees to watch the world.
They were transistors. What were they called? There were equipment with handles on the side, but they were like radio transceivers. He collected them, and it was old equipment like we used as radio transceivers. So he was really big into all that stuff.
He said he could look into houses, right? And he wanted
he had all kind of equipment.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, the government had that, and when I worked for U.S. Express, we could see on the interstate from all the computers on the pictures, videos of people driving and stuff. And then they taught us about the satellites. Right. So we had that in the 80s and 90s, but the government didn't let people know we all had it before we had the, David Gates and Apple. I don't know because I haven't done a research on how that works. But I did write a few books with the stuff I did know and names, but that's all changed now because I'm smarter. But I haven't done a lot of research.
And I knew of the name
dumber,
Peter Moon.
Too. Peter, his name is Vince something.
And he had written a book. It was a little paperback book. So
you knew Peter Moon. Well, Peter was, I think,
I didn't know him. I didn't know him.
He called me. He was very sweet to me. He called me on my birthday and talked to me, but I wondered why he was being so nice to me because he was a publisher like I was. I don't know. I think so.
Yeah, Peter Moon's still alive. Yeah, I talk to Peter about once a year, twice a year.
Oh, really?
We do a very long show with him. Yeah, he's wonderful.
Well, that would be interesting.
He's like a nice guy.
We always catch up.
Was he friends with Preston Nickell?
Oh, yeah. He wrote the book for him.
Yeah.
He published the book.
That's right.
Have you?
It was Al Bielek, Duncan Cameron.
Have you ever read any of the Mod Talk books?
Yeah.
Wait, one person at a time. Let me just ask a question. Have you read any of the Mod Talk books? I recommend you get them so you can get them used.
No, I haven't.
Read the Mod Talk series. It's about 10 books. I recommend you read them.
Did you read them?
And then if you can't read them, I did. Yes, I did. I read them all.
Wow.
That's how I got into it.
I can't get you to read one of my books. Have you read any of my books?
I was in a reading phase. I don't really have except that one. I did read it. Yeah, I did read the one. But I met Al Bielek at a conference. Oh, God, we have a lot of feedback. I'm not sure what's going on. But
there's something on your computer. Do you turn your speaker down on your computer?
No, my speaker's off.
Because it's always from your side. Turn your speaker down on your always.
Anyway,
turn it to 0.
I don't even have the speaker on at all. I don't have the speaker on at all.
Well, I think
right
it's
now.
our little friends trying to be sweet.
Well, maybe.
It may even
something
be
else.
Preston Nickell over there.
90 seconds.
Well, we're out of time anyway, Janet.
Yeah, we're out of time.
Janet,
we'll try this again
should we go back and listen? Karen, I need you to send me some pictures of you so I can have them in my computer.
Okay, I will.
I couldn't find one because I don't have one to talk about you on my computer.
Oh. Okay, well, I will, and send me some too.
Okay.
60.
If I can get out, I have a hard time getting out of my. Somebody or something controls my stuff. But I got an open message today. It says, I'm looking at it right now. So I don't know how and why today, because all of a sudden everything would download all at once and go ping, 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 ping on my phones like they're backed up for 2 weeks. But this came off of Karen Gresham Nickell on Facebook. So, which I don't normally go to, and I'm cut off of Twitter, some reason.
Well, I had sent you a video of those little girls. Did you get that?
Oh, is that what it was? That must be what it is.
It's in the messenger.
It says open message.
It's the little.
All right.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't be afraid of that. You have to touch that, and the little girls will come up.
Oh,
and those
okay.
are little ET girls.
Everybody say goodbye, aloha. We're going to be off the air. So much love and blessings, everybody.
So we'll